I think it was the best 7 minutes an individual has ever put out there in a game of rugby sevens.
You've got the whole country around you, you've been building for a year, but how the players interpret the pressure is really, really useful.
Franchement, c'est un moment de joie indescriptible et cette célébration à la fin, c'est vraiment un moment extraordinaire et unique.
They say pressure makes diamonds, and no better stage than the biggest sporting event on earth to make a few of those diamonds.
The 2024 Olympic Games in Paris created a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for the French Rugby Sevens team. After failing to qualify for the Tokyo 2020 Olympic Games, alarm bells were ringing. In 3 years' time, this French team were going to be competing in front of a home crowd, and the weight of a rugby-obsessed nation was resting on their shoulders. So what was the plan put in place to ensure victory? And what strategy would make this dream become a reality?
Welcome to the report. Gold at the Paris 2024 Olympic Games offered France a moment of eternal glory. To do that, France had to put all of their time and energy into the sevens team. A team that have never made it past the quarterfinal in a World Cup. And up until 2024, have never really left a mark on the HSBC Sevens Series.
France were inconsistent, which is a bit of a cliche, isn't it, when you talk about French rugby teams, 15s or 7s. You know, they went 19 years without a title on the series, and that probably explains a lot.
It took France several years to go from outsider to world champions. In May 2017, Jerome Daret was appointed as the head coach of the French men's sevens team. 4 months later, on the 13th of September, his job would become a whole lot more important, as France were announced as the hosts of the 2024 Summer Olympic Games. For Daret, the plan was clear: improve this French sevens team and win gold in Paris. However, the story was far from simple. After France failed to qualify for the Tokyo 2020 Games after they lost to Ireland, sorry boys, again, Daret had to go back to the drawing board, figure out a plan to take this team from the depths of not qualifying and bring them to the very top of the podium, winning gold. Who better to speak to about the master plan than the master himself?
Donc l'organisation a été folle, incroyable. Il y avait beaucoup de pression, mais qui s'est transformée en pression positive. Notre ambition, c'était de construire quelque chose de très exigeant, de très rigoureux pour aller chercher un maximum de plaisir et trouver une solution pour pouvoir embarquer tous les supporters et tout cet environnement assez impressionnant vers une cause unique, c'est-à-dire soutenir l'équipe de France avec des égrégores, des énergies positives, pouvant nous permettre de passer ce cut de la pression négative pour la transformer en pression positive, tout simplement.
The size of the challenge was monumental. But how was this French team going to channel the home field advantage so that it helps them rather than hinder them? We're going to speak to a great friend of mine, sports psychologist, someone who understands pressure in a team environment all too well, Stephen McIvor. How big of a difference does it make being the host nation, playing in front of your home crowd?
You've got a sort of a unique situation when you're playing at home, certainly in the Olympics. You've got the whole country around you. You've been building for a year. There's always going to be that emotional journey that you've gone on. It'll naturally give us an emotional contagion. We will have that extra bit of energy, and with that comes pressure. But how the players interpret the pressure is really, really useful. Pressure is where we are at our best. But once we're giving our attention onto our game plan, onto connecting to our teammates, and back into a focus of things that we can bring into the game, rather than focusing on the opinions of the nation and the expectations of the nation. So it's that contradiction. We want to satisfy the expectations. We want to get the results. But to get them, we need to let them go.
I think the main aspect of this French team they had to change to really send it over the top was their mentality. They've always had the skill, they've always had that flair, they've always had that physicality, but I think it was that mental toughness and self-belief that they could actually run it with the best and beat the best.
Je pense que une des forces de l'équipe de France, c'était son état d'esprit. La compétence aussi un petit peu de son staff dans sa globalité, puisqu'il y a eu beaucoup de remises en question. On a travaillé énormément sur du co-développement, de la codépendance. Nous sommes allés chercher des ressources autour de la construction de la performance mentale aussi, travailler sur l'intelligence émotionnelle. Donc ça a permis de fabriquer un chemin qui nous a permis de fabriquer un petit peu plus de confiance, de sérénité, de solidité, rester froid par rapport à cette guerre psychologique, parce que le niveau du series ou de la compétition à 7 est très relevé, c'est très redoutable, toutes les équipes sont très performantes, c'est un jeu d'échecs permanent où tout le monde avance ses pions. Nous on était sûr d'être aux Jeux Olympiques de Paris, puisqu'on était pays hôte et sûr d'être qualifiés. Mais on souhaitait être dans les 4 premiers du series pour pouvoir dire que sportivement on gagnait notre place aussi pour les Jeux Olympiques.
This French team had an abundance of talent. The rise of try-scoring machine Aaron Grandidier, the talent and experience of Stephen Parez, and the power and physicality of Jerome Sepho. But one man plying his trade in the 15-a-side game was seen as the ideal figure to be brought into the Sevens program, to inspire a nation and get the crowd behind this team on their road to Paris 2024. The 2021 World Player of the Year and Six Nations Player of the Tournament 3 years in a row, Antoine Dupont.
Alors ça a été une décision prise il y a plus de 2 ans et ça a été un travail de longue haleine où il y a eu beaucoup de discussions, beaucoup de maturation, beaucoup d'échanges et surtout une stratégie pour amener ce joueur à se nourrir à distance quelque part, à se fabriquer à distance avec les compétences du club. C'était important aussi de façonner les joueurs de l'équipe de France à être aussi dans cette responsabilité d'être dans l'effet contagion, c'est-à-dire de permettre à tout joueur entrant forcément de grandir très rapidement pour soutenir la performance de l'équipe de France.
There's nothing Hollywood about Antoine, but you know, when he gets onto the field in any form of rugby, he is just so much better than everybody else, and it's very rare in any sport that someone can make the difference like he did. Obviously, we'd seen it in 15s for Toulouse or for France, but for him to come to a sport that he'd not played before on the biggest stage of all at the Olympics and do what he did was just unbelievable.
The one thing you can't account for is in the media how they follow him so much and how big he is. I mean, in Madrid, they had thousands of people from France driving over and catching the ferry over and flying over just to see him because they can't get tickets to see him in France. And I think that was the reason Madrid was stacked. You know, there was 50,000 people and I'm pretty sure 40,000 of them come to see one bloke.
Donc ça, c'était une des stratégies importantes pour nous pour pouvoir accueillir Antoine Dupont, en sachant qu'Antoine Dupont est quelqu'un qui est très facile à gérer, qui arrive avec beaucoup d'humilité et qui s'est vite mis à la portée des joueurs en respectant le parcours de ceux qui étaient là depuis pas mal d'années et en respectant aussi la performance de l'équipe de France qui était en progression depuis quelques temps.
If you are that star man coming into the team, how do you deal with it, knowing that you're coming from the other side in and there's an expectation around you?
When a player comes into a squad, if he's seen as a star player, and we obviously want star players in our team or very skilled players, if they're not equally committed to that team, it's often the players that recognize that first. That impact in terms of commitment by Dupont, his work ethic, his support, impacts his relationship with his other teammates. And that is what makes a team work.
When he played his first tournament in Vancouver, he came off the bench. Within a couple of plays, he's put someone over for a try. He scored one of his own. The way Jerome, the head coach, used him was a stroke of genius, really, because he kind of knew he couldn't play the whole game. He would come on at halftime, maybe a bit before, and he would finish the job. His influence was like nothing we have ever seen before in this sport.
He has all this pressure on him, he has all the lights on him, he has all the people grabbing at him, and to be able to translate that off the field, on the field, I think was a big motivator for why, and a big catalyst for why this French team succeeded.
Showtime. The summer of 2024 had arrived. Immortality and greatness was just 14 minutes away. Only one team was in front of them. The reigning gold medalists from Rio and Tokyo, the team they lost to in the pool stages, Fiji. What plans did they put in place to ensure that they won gold?
Non, mais c'est un jeu d'échecs, parce que si vous n'avez pas le ballon face à Fidji, ça peut être très très compliqué. Donc ça a été un vrai match stratégique où il y a eu peu d'intensité dans le match, mais où il y a des moments clés qu'il fallait...
So it's 7 each at half-time. Game's properly in the balance. Place is absolutely fizzing. Best atmosphere we've ever seen in the sport. France are 7 minutes away from an Olympic gold medal. Game-changing moment. What do? They bring on Antoine Dupont, the closer. He's done it before. He did it in Los Angeles for their first title in 19 years. He did it to win the grand final in Madrid against Argentina. He comes on at halftime against Fiji, who've never lost a game at the Olympics in their history, and he totally changes that final. From the restart, gets the ball from Aaron Grandidier, runs 50 metres down the sideline, offloads the ball back indoors to Grandidier, who scores, and everyone is just aghast at what they've just seen.
Où ce coup d'envoi, il est déterminant. Si on ne l'attrape pas, ce ballon, je pense qu'on ne gagne pas ce match-là. Mais ça a été le moment qui nous a permis de nous dire, bon, mais là, on est dans le match, on est là où il faut.
I think it was the best 7 minutes an individual has ever put out there in a game of rugby sevens.
Quand vous gagnez une médaille d'or, vous n'y croyez pas vraiment, mais tout s'arrête, quoi. Je crois qu'il y a tout se remémore dans votre tête depuis le début que vous êtes là, avec les moments de délicatesse. Et puis, franchement, c'est un moment de joie indescriptible, qui continue encore, et je crois qu'il ne s'arrêtera jamais. Mais c'est une émotion incroyable. C'est-à-dire que là, vous prenez conscience que la performance ne se construit pas que sur des artifices terrains. C'est comment vous managez les émotions et forcément les valeurs. Et cette célébration à la fin, cette consécration à la fin, c'est un feu d'artifice de tout ça, quoi. Donc c'est vraiment un moment extraordinaire et unique.
So there we have it. From being dumped out of the Olympic qualifier by a very talented and handsome Irish team, to partying in the streets of Paris, Jerome Daret's team inspired a French revolution in the sport of sevens. That's all we have time for on this episode of The Report. If there's anything you'd like us to cover, please let us know, and we'll see you at the next one.